Happened. Well, at the end of the last session, we had a little mess up on who was coming up. So what we didn't tell you is that people have been asking about what happens when you give. These are releasing in March, and so we're actually shipping them in March. And so if you have a flyer on your table, if you want a case of them, they come in 48. You can check these out. You just fill out the information. We'll send you a case. They're $135 for the entire case. It comes out for about $2.81, and that includes shipping as well. So it's about $2.81 per book to send or kit for giver appreciation. And if you want some of those, you can fill that out and drop it by the store at any time. And so, guys, thanks for being here. We've heard some great feedback, some great stories. You heard a story from @Rev Warren. Is that your Twitter name? See, I know people by their Twitter names. I don't know the real names. I know their Twitter name. He's saying some great stuff about year-end giving. Had some other people talk to me about some different things that's going on in the church during the break. And so, guys, if you do have stories and things that are happening, man, we love to hear. I know, Troy, you said you had some awesome stuff going as executive pastor of a church at 2600, and they started implementing some of the systems. And so, guys, if y'all have any if you have any questions or anything, and if you have any questions about membership and that kind of thing, you can talk to people with a gold name tag and their members and just ask them what their experience has been and that kind of thing. And so thank you guys for coming out today. What we're going to do right now is Michael Lukaszewski is going to come up and he's going to speak, and he's going to talk today about something that's awesome, okay? And it's about making digital the default. And in our survey of all the churches that we studied, we found that digital giving has huge ramifications for increasing church giving as a whole. And so what I want to do is just tell you that Michael is a great friend. And you hear us talk about friends, is that we're friends, and I love Michael, love his family. He's taken the last year, and he's really spent time behind the scenes studying, and on the survey side of things, he's done a lot of things, and he's been really studying and started getting him out of consulting and working with tons of churches. And he's been a pastor of a local church that he planted and grew to 1,000 people. And he's done just a lot of great stuff throughout his career. But the best thing I think that Michael has done is that he is a learner, and he learns and he studies and he knows how to apply and make things simple and have simple systems. And so Michael's going to come today and he's going to share, and it's going to be awesome on making digital the default. So I want to give everybody give Michael a big round of applause for coming out and talking about making digital the default.
All right, thanks, Casey. Casey and I have been good friends for a while, and we have been working together for a little while, and it's been awesome and great. He helped our church. And it's been fantastic. One of the things we do, I don't know if you guys do this like with your friends. You're just riding in the car, and we come up with these crazy scenarios where we just talk about, I wonder what would happen if. I don't know if y'all do this kind of stuff. And so, like, we would be standing in the lobby, and we would just say things like, I wonder what would happen if, like, a truck came barreling through the lobby, and like, what would you do? Would you, like, run? So we have these crazy scenario things. And one day we were working with the church and having a meeting, and we left and we went to lunch, and we had lunch, and then we were going back to the meeting, and I'm driving the car, and Casey's riding in the passenger seat, and there was a person just standing on the corner on the side of the road, and I said to Casey, Casey, do you think you could roll down the window? And I don't know why I'm doing this, because we don't roll windows down like this, but would you roll down the window? Could you roll down the window and just yell at that person and ask them if they would give you $1 for no reason? And do you think they would say yes? And Casey said, yeah, I think they would say yes. And so we went to the next red light. We didn't do that because that's weird. We went to the next red light, and there's a person in the car, and I said, well, do you think if you jumped out of your car right now and knocked on that girl's window, and she rolled her window down, and if you asked her for $1, would she give you $1? And Casey said, well, I don't know, that might be weird. That might be a little weird. I don't know. And I said, well, what if we just went to a Starbucks, and there were just people all in the Starbucks, and we just interrupted and just yelled out to everybody, and just did people in line and at the tables, and asked people for $1 bill for no reason? Do you think people would give us $1 that way? What do you think our success rate would be? And we said 50%. We had a very important meeting to get back to, and so we went to Starbucks and did this. And so we went into the Starbucks, and we parked and went in, and we just started harassing people in line and at tables, and we would just walk up to them and say, hey, my name's Casey. Can I ask you a question? Well, Casey said that. I didn't say that. He said, my name's Casey. Can I ask you a question? They would say, yeah. Will you give me $1 bill? And they would look at you funny. And she handed us $1 bill, like $1 bill, just reached into her purse, just handed us $1 bill. And we said, thank you, and just walked on. And we went to the next person and did that, and went outside, and there were a couple people sitting at a table. About the 6th or 7th person, we went to their table, and we just walked up to them, and we said, hey, could we have $1 bill? And they said, what for? And we're like, we just need $1 bill. And the one girl looked at us and said, no. And I said, why not? And she said, I'm not sure you would steward it well. And I said, steward it? That's a church word. Do you go to church somewhere? And yeah, so the first person to reject us was actually a church person. And so we had this very important meeting to get back to, as I mentioned earlier. So we went back to the church, and we went in the room, and instead of working, we went on the internet and registered willyougivmeadollar.com and created a website for it. And we have literally, in the last 3 or 4 months, have asked 200 or 300 people for dollar bills. And so like a couple days ago in Chicago, we walked down Michigan Avenue and asked some people for $1. We asked servers for $1. We asked some people in a limo. We stopped a limo on the road, and they handed us $3 through the window. And just for no reason. We don't tell them it's for a good cause. We don't, we're just for no reason, and people are just giving us dollar bills. But do you know the number one reason why somebody doesn't give us a dollar bill? They don't have it. They don't have it. And so, you can kind of tell if people are lying or telling the truth. And some people say, I don't have $1, and you know they have $1. But really, most people, when they say, I would give you $1, but I don't have $1. And so I take out my smartphone and my Square reader and say, well, I take credit cards. And did you know that people have swiped their credit card on the phone to give me a dollar bill, and it goes right into my bank account? And I have a jar at home full of dollar bills that people all over the country have given us. But people can't give us $1 if they don't have $1. We've actually learned a lot of interesting things through this, and it's going to be pretty fun. But here's what we found, is that people can't give you what they don't have. Do you understand that most people in your church this Sunday, sitting in the chairs or the pews or whatever you have, cannot give in the offering with the buckets that you're passing because they do not have cash or checks? And so you could use a stat story or scripture giving talk. You can get your giving talk from givingrocket.com members area. You can have a video. You can put kids up on the stage, right? Sad-looking kids, right? You can show video. You can turn the lights down and play music, and you can do all this stuff to motivate people to give. But if they do not have money in their pockets or purses, and that's the only way they can give to your church, they cannot participate. And so in many of our churches, the offering has become the most irrelevant thing that we do. And we all want to be relevant, so we're singing relevant songs, and we want to teach the Bible in a relevant way. But we do this thing in our church called the offering, and we pass a bucket around or a plate around. Some of you are overachievers, so you have this like wooden thing with a giant bag hanging down below it because you're like, we're believing big. And so you do this, but people can't put anything in there because they don't have cash or checks. You know this, and I know this, that our culture, if it's not already there, it's on the way, is going cashless, right? This is just society. We're just cashless. In fact, let me ask a question. How many of you have $100 or more right now? Anybody? $100 of cash? Raise your hand so we can rob you, right? Like 5 people. 1, 2, 3. There's some rich people on this side of the room. He's like pointing. He's got money, right? Daddy Warbucks. There's 4 or 5 people have more than $100. We would not get much of an offering out of this room if we passed buckets around right now, would we? Because you don't have cash. I don't have cash. We pay with debit cards and credit cards when we go to places, don't we? That's how we pay for things. That's how people in your church pay for things. Not all of them, but most of them. And more every single year. I like to eat at a bagel place. You guys like bagels? I like bagels. The proper way to eat a bagel, by the way, is plain with plain cream cheese. You should be a very plain person. And that's a good bagel. And so I go to Einstein Brothers Bagels. It's about a mile from my house. Love that place. Walked in there not too long ago. Right at the cash register, they have a picture right up on the cash register. It says, as of September 1st, 2011, we will no longer accept checks. And I saw that. I took that picture with my phone. You know what? That didn't bother me one bit. Do you know why? Because I've never in my entire life written a check to Einstein Brothers Bagels. I don't pay for things with checks. I pay for things $3.44 once or twice a week at Einstein Brothers Bagels with a Visa card. So that's no big deal. They'll still take cash. I said to the person working there, I said, do most people, you don't take checks anymore, I see. Do most people pay with cash or cards? And she said, oh, hon, everybody swipes the cards. A few days later, I went to a Mexican restaurant right there on the front door of the Mexican restaurant. I love Mexican restaurants. Just taped on the front door. High class right here when you just tape a sign on the front door. no checks. Look in the bottom corner. It's like 2007. They won't, they're like, we're not putting up with this, man. It's October of 2007. We're not taking checks anymore. That sign is still there. That sign has been on that door for like 4 or 5 years now, right? I have no idea what La Huerta means because it's not on Dora the Explorer. And if it's not on Dora the Explorer, I don't know what it means. But they don't take checks. They're like, well, you cannot pay with a check here. You know why? Because people may still use cash, but most people are going to swipe a card. And that's what you and I do. Our culture is cashless. We don't carry around cash. We don't carry around checks anymore. And so there is a new rule in church giving, because that's what today is about. It's about church giving. And there's a new rule of giving in your church. And the new rule is this, is that you have to make digital the default. You have to make digital the default. The default way for people to give in your church needs to be digital, because people don't have cash. And the offering in your church, if they can only give with cash or checks, it's irrelevant. They can't participate. And so we've got to make digital the default. And see, here's what happens in our church. Some of you, when you hear me say this, you go, oh, wait. You don't know my church. That is going to work in the city, right? That's going to work with the young people. But my church is different. And so you don't like this rule. I'm telling you, it's a new rule. Make digital default. And you're like, I don't know if I like that rule. In the nicest way I know how, can I say this? It doesn't matter if you like the rule. Right? It's a rule. I don't know if I agree with that. It doesn't matter. It's a rule. Like if you're a parent, you understand this, right? You have kids. Do they always like the rules that you have? No, they don't. Do you enforce them? Yes, you do. Dad, I don't want to unload the dishwasher. Go unload the dishwasher. You know why? Because that's your job. That's a rule. The rule is if you live in this house, you unload the dishwasher. I don't like that. I don't care. I'm very nice to my kids. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if you agree with the rule. It's a rule. And so digital giving, digital is the default. That's a rule. It's a rule for your church. It's a rule for my church. It's a rule for all the churches, because that's how culture is moving. And like Casey said, you can either compete with it and be like, no, and become extinct, or you can cooperate with it and figure it out. And so here's what I want to do, because when I said make digital default, I saw some of you. Some of you are like, it's not going to work. And you have the list of reasons why it doesn't work in your church, don't you? You have a finance team. Some of you may have brought them here today so that they could get educated. Here's all the reasons why it's not going to work. 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 So here's what I want to do. In the next 25 or 30 minutes, I want to use all my communication ability, all my persuasive ability, the best I've got, whether it's good or not, good enough or not. I want to do my best. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just telling you. I want to do my best to convince you that you should fix your church's website, that you should put a kiosk in the lobby like this church has, and that you should allow people to give digitally and make that the new normal in your church. That's what I want to try to convince you to do. And so the way I want to do it is in 3 parts. I want to talk about the objections. I want to talk about your objections. Then number 2, I want to talk about the benefits of why you should do it. And then I want to end with a very simple step-by-step process of how to do it, okay? So here we go. Number 1, here's the objections. Here's what you're saying, Michael, this is not going to work in my church. This is not going to work in my church. You don't know my people. And here's what you say. Number 1, write this down. People will freak out. That's what some of you think, right? Some of you think, Michael, if I put an ATM in the lobby, people are going to be trying to withdraw money. They're going to send us emails, or faxes. They're going to ask questions. They're not going to understand, and they're going to freak out if we just drop a giving kiosk in the lobby. They're not going to know what it is. Can I answer this? Yes, they will freak out. Unless you do it right. Unless you do it right. Like, you can't just put an ATM in your lobby and just think everybody's going to, oh, that's just cool. You have to explain it, right? You know, in the church we do some weird stuff. You guys know this, right? If you're a Christian, you're pretty weird. We're pretty weird. The Bible says we are a peculiar people. I just say we're weird. And we do weird things. Some of you have weird traditions in your church. Have you ever walked in your church through the eyes of an unbeliever or somebody who doesn't go to church or get it? Like you do some worship. Some of you, if I were to go to your church this Sunday, there would be a time in your church where you would have a big tank of water up on the stage. Just inside. You have a pool inside your church building. And there might be a time in your service where a dude in a robe, that's pretty weird. Is he Jesus? Or did he just wake up? Why is he wearing a robe? Stands in front of that pool and there's a person in it, and you dunk them under the water in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then everybody goes, amen. That's weird when you think about it, right? Like if you have no context for that and you just saw that, you're going, what's going on? That doesn't make it. Does that mean you shouldn't baptize people? No. It just means you have to explain it, right? Some of you celebrate the Lord's Supper or communion or the Eucharist. And you have this moment in a church service, maybe it's every week or maybe it's a special day or whatever, where you take some bread and this is what you say. You say, this is the body of Christ. If you have no context and you just see that, that's weird, isn't it? Honey, this church is for cannibals. This is the body of Jim. That's weird, right? That would be weird. This is the blood of Jesus. And you're seeing, and you're going, that's weird. Does that mean you shouldn't do that? No, it's very powerful. It's very theological. There's incredible symbolism and meaning. It just means that when you do that, you have to explain it to people. So when you want to have a kiosk, a digital kiosk for people to give, you can't just drop it in the lobby and think everybody's going to understand it. You have to explain it. They will freak out at things that they do not know. Church traditions are very comforting to church people, but they're very weird to unchurched people. So put a kiosk in your lobby, but explain it. You do this by saying something like this. Guys, 4 weeks from now, there's going to be something new in the lobby. It's called a giving kiosk, and here's how it works. And then 3 weeks out, you say, guys, in 3 weeks, there's going to be something new in the lobby on the left side. Here's a picture of it. And then 2 weeks out, you say, guys, in 2 weeks, when you come to church, there's going to be a giving kiosk here, and here's the reasons why the leaders of the church feel like this is important. And then 1 week out, you say, guys, next week when you come to church, there's going to be a giving kiosk. Let me show you how it works. And then the week of, you say, guys, when you came in, there was a new thing in the lobby. It's called a giving kiosk. And then the week after, you say, last week, there was you get it? And then it's not weird because you've explained it. People used to think ATMs were weird, right? Some of you still may think that. You're like, I'm not putting my money in that thing. I like to talk to a person. Well, I don't. Right? My kids think an ATM is the greatest thing ever because it just spits out money. They don't understand. No, you have to put it in there. Right? Try to withdraw money. It doesn't work that way. People will freak out unless you explain it. Let me give you number 2. Here's the second objection. Number 2, we don't want to encourage debt. Have you ever heard this? Some of you thought this when I talked about giving with a credit card. Come on. Credit card giving is debt. And Michael, we teach a class. We have a sermon series, and Dave Ramsey says you shouldn't even have credit cards. And so if we encourage people to give with their credit card, we're encouraging debt. Can I answer this one for you? I want to answer this one with a question. How many of you have ever known one human being on planet Earth to give themselves into debt? Ever? No, because people don't give themselves into debt. They spend themselves into debt. They don't give themselves into debt. Like no one takes their car title to their, 1992 Honda Accord into the title pawn place and take it in there and say, hey, I'd like to pay you 165% interest, over the course of the next 3 months because my church is doing an Easter offering and I want to participate. Can I get some cash? No one does that, but they do that all the time, and those places are everywhere because people need to get some money to pay their bills or to buy something or to, spending stuff. People are not going to give themselves into debt at your church. You know what you have to do here? You have to teach people what the Bible says about spending and about living and about saving and about giving and about stewardship. You have to teach them how to manage their finances altogether. A credit card is not evil, it's a tool. How you use the tool makes it evil. Right? How you use it. So teach people. I mean, get Budweiser to make you some commercials that say give responsibly and just show them in your church or something, you know? I mean, just figure it out, right? Just help people understand. Here's what the Bible says. You have a credit card. You use a credit card, you know, and just teach people. Let me give you another one. Here's another reason. Here's another objection. It's not worshipful. It's not worshipful. Michael, giving on the internet is not worshipful. I like to put the check or the cash into an envelope, and at the right moment in the service, I like to place it in there. Because in the Bible, they used to bring their offerings to church. And so I like to bring it and put it in the plate or the bucket or the big bag of, you know, whatever it is. And so I want to worship. I like to worship. So digital giving is not worshipful. Let me answer this one. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not for you. Please do not rob that guy's moment of worship by telling him he can't give that way. There's nothing wrong with that. Pass the plates. Pass the buckets. Honor the way that he wants to give. But it is not particularly worshipful to me. Because you know what happens for me? I forget. If I listen, we have 3 kids. It's hard to get 3 kids up into church on time. Much less remember to find some envelopes that they mailed me and write a check and figure out where the checks are and bring it to church. There's a great chance that I'll forget to worship if that's the only way that I could give. So you know what you need to have? You need to have multiple ways. Pass the plates, pass the buckets. Tell people if you want to worship by bringing your offering and by placing it, you do that. But for some of you, you can worship from your computer at home. I mean, you can go on your bankofamerica.com and type in the name of your church and hit submit and then go, ooh, you know? That's just as worshipful to somebody. I mean, you can play a Chris Tomlin CD while you're browsing the internet, paying your bills, and it's worship. The Bible, listen, Jesus said it's about our heart. It's not about the method. Don't try to make a method any more spiritual than another method. It's just a method. It's the condition of somebody's heart, not whether they write a check or do it online or use a kiosk. And so it's not worshipful. Maybe it's not for somebody, so let them give that way. But consider the other ways. Number 4, this is very important. Number 4, hear this all the time. The fees are too high. The fees are too high. Michael, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, they all charge fees. The fees are too high. If all our people give digitally, then we're going to have to pay all these fees. We're going to have to pay all these fees to the bank, and the church is going to get less money that way. Fees are too high. Fees are too high. We hear this a lot from people who are kind of in control of the money. This is not a bad thing. I mean, this is not a bad thing, right? You don't want to waste the church's money. You don't waste God's money. Fees are too high. Fees are too high. Let me tell you something. Please don't be offended. That is clue for that I'm about to offend somebody. Right? I don't mean to offend you, but I'm about to. The fees are too high. That's broke thinking. That's broke thinking. That's a broke mindset. That's a broke mindset. I think we ought to celebrate credit card fees in the church. You know why? Because every single one of you would take this deal. If I came to you and said, I will give you $100, but you must give me $2.75 back, every single one of you would take that deal, wouldn't you? Because you will be $97.75 richer than you were 30 seconds ago. I think that math was right. I don't know if that was right or not. There may be some extra fees that I didn't tell you about. Right, that's a good deal. You would take that deal. Like if I could put a machine on my front porch where people could just come up and just give me money and I'd have to pay 2.75% every time they did it, I would do it all day long. So would you. There's fees involved. Did you know there are fees involved in your church receiving checks? It costs money. You pay fees to receive checks. But you are no longer requiring people to bring their offerings in the form of grain and cattle. Right? There's no fees in that. I don't know what you do with the cow on Sunday, but that's free. You can get a cow for free. There's no fee. It's a no-fee cow offering. All right? But there are fees involved in checks. Do you know that your church pays non-sufficient fund fees to your bank? People bounce checks to your church. Did you know that? Have you ever looked at have you ever run a report of how many NSF fees you've paid to your bank? That's fascinating to me. I don't know what we're supposed to do. Somebody writes like a $30 check to your church and it bounces. Do you send them like a statement that says, you have bounced this check for $30, please submit a new one, and here's another fee for $39.50? You now owe us $69.50, your tithe is doubled. Do you tape a no check sign to your front door? Because people bounce checks to your church? No. You know what you do? You figure it out. So there are fees involved. Now listen, be smart. Finance team people that are here today, be smart. Do some research. Get the fees as low as you can. But don't be afraid of the fees. Don't be afraid of that. Don't buy into that spirit of being broke. Number 5, here's what we hear. We aren't technical. You're talking about online, website giving, figuring out a kiosk, mobile giving. I don't understand any of that, Michael. I don't understand any of that. We are not a technical church. Our church is 180 years old, and we have original members. We cannot figure... We can't figure this out. We're not a technical church. We're out in the country. People would bring cows to church if we told them they could. We're not a technical church. That's what some of you are thinking. We're not technical. We can't do this. Here's what I know. You might not be technical. You might not be technical. But someone in your church is. They're probably like 14 years old. And they're real pale. They never go outside. They play video games all the time. Right? Like some of you need to turn over your church's website to the youth group. Right? Let them figure it out for you. I'm not even kidding. Like you have a 14-year-old like genius hacker kid in your church who wears all black. He's got red hair. He's real pale. He doesn't like people. He's antisocial. He's got some kind of ranking on some kind of game website that you've never heard of. He's like a grandmaster of something. And you need to engage that kid into helping you figure out the technology. It's worth it. Like some of you need to get this kid and be like, listen, kid. I mean, don't say kid. They don't like that. Say, listen, we need your help with our website. And he's going to go, huh? Like all you've done is tell him not to wear a hat in church, and now you're asking for his help. And you need to get his help on your website. Your website's going to look like World of Warcraft when it's done, but you'll be able to take credit card, things when people want to give. Right? Why is our website black? Well, Jimmy took over it. Why does the menu have smoke coming up from it? Well, that's the online giving part. I mean, just get some guys to figure it out. You got a team of people in your church that are smart, that are technical, they can figure it out. Hey, listen, let me be serious for just a second. You need to find places in your church where people can volunteer with their minds. Like, we're great at coming up with all these volunteer things that people can do. We do a work day. We need you to do this. We need you to work in the nursery. We need your physical presence here. We need you to show up here and do that. That's great. That's fantastic. But you need to engage people where they can volunteer with their minds as well. Put a team of people together and say, we need to figure out this digital giving stuff. I'm giving you 3 months. Here's $2,000. Here's what I want to accomplish. Go. And then listen to them. Just let them figure it out. Just let them figure it out. See, there are objections to digital giving, but I think they're worth overcoming. You know why? Because if you will overcome these objections, these things will happen. Let me give you the benefits. Several benefits to emphasizing digital giving. Number 1 is you can receive an offering all the time. Wouldn't that be cool? Some of you're going to get an email while you're sitting in here. Your iPhone's going to go ding, 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 ding. And you're going to go, an email. And somebody has made a donation to your church on Thursday. You're not even there. You didn't have to preach a sermon. The worship leader didn't have to sing a song. But someone could give to your church while you're here. Isn't that great? That's awesome. Like, if you will teach people to use digital giving and teach them how to set up recurring automatic contributions, then people can give to your church all the time in the middle of the night. Do you know God speaks to people? Do you know that God may speak to somebody on a Wednesday and ask them to do something generous? And if you say, hey, that's awesome that God spoke to you, 5 days from now, please act on that. When we pass the bucket, that's terrible. Terrible. Don't do that. Right? Teach people, and you can receive an offering all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Number 2 reason to do this is that consistent giving becomes the new normal. Do you have inconsistent givers in your church? Oh man, did you know most of your givers are inconsistent givers? They either give in 2 ways. Number 1, when they feel like it. So if your sermon wasn't that good that day, or when they have extra, which is very rare these days, right? If they're inconsistent, you know what you can do? If you will teach them to automate what is important to them, if you will teach them how to set up recurring donations on your website or at a kiosk, if you'll educate people about the reasons and the benefits and how to follow through with the commitment that they've made, then they'll become consistent givers, and that'll become the new normal. Number 3, third benefit to digital giving is people can give even if they miss church. Do people miss church in your church? Yeah, they miss church. Did you know that the average faithful church attender, I'm talking about a faithful church attender, is there about 2.5 times a month? They're just gone the rest. It doesn't mean they don't love Jesus or care about you or your church. It means that they're on vacation or they're sick or they have sick kids or they just can't make it that day. And do you know this, that people typically don't send their wallet to church when they can't make it? And so if the only time you can receive an offering is in church on Sunday, well, if somebody's not there, they're not participating. You've just cut your number of offerings from 52 a year down to about 35 because people miss church from time to time. I live in Atlanta. And Atlanta is a fun place to live, but there's some crazy people in Atlanta. In the winter in Atlanta, if there's like a hint of snow, people freak out. Y'all know what snow is, right? So Orlando. It's just rain here. Just rain. I love Florida. But in Atlanta, if there's a hint of snow, people freak out and they go buy bread and milk. They don't have bread and milk any other time. Like, no one ever goes to their refrigerator on like a random Tuesday morning and go, oh no, we're out of milk. But if there's like a news report that says 3 days from now there might be a wintry mix, people go buy bread and milk. They're going to eat a lot of peanut butter, I guess. I don't know what's happening. But they freak out. And then sometimes we have to cancel church because of bad weather. That happens here sometimes. You have to cancel church because of bad weather. And people are going to miss church because you had to cancel it. Bad weather. And sometimes this happens, right? You've done this. You've had this whole, like, we need to cancel church thing, and so you get some elders or some deacons or some leadership people on the phone. You're talking to staff, talking to the team. It's on Saturday. Do we need to cancel? Do we not cancel? Do we cancel? Do we not cancel? And you decide to cancel. And so you alert the various people. You send the email out, whatever you do. And then after you make that decision, here's what you do. You go, oh, no. If we cancel church, then that means we've canceled the offering. And if we cancel the offering, there's only 4 Sundays this month. So our offerings this month are only going to be 75%. Brother Jim, you're not getting paid this month. We're going to pay you in milk. Because there will be a lot of extra. Here's some bread. Hope your kids enjoy this peanut butter sandwich. Right? And so you make, and then you try to recover and send all these crazy emails out. Oh, we're canceling church, but you can still give, and you send all this crazy stuff. But do you know if you will teach people to make automatic recurring contributions digitally, when a bad weather Sunday or when a serious event happens and you need to cancel church, you can actually think about people's safety instead of your budget? That's being a good leader. Reason number 4, we're talking about benefits, why you should do this, is the summer slump becomes obsolete. You know the summer slump, right? Because people go on vacation and their giving goes on vacation a little bit in the summer. And so all of you, if you're like a finance person or an administrator, you understand the cash flow, you understand cash flow, right? Year kind of starts out, we're going good in January, people make all this kind of, donations back. But then about the summer hits, starts to slow down a little bit, you get this dip. Then maybe by the fall it'll kind of pick back up. And so in the summer, the staff leaders of the church, they send crazy emails to their staff. They'd send an email out, they'd be like, hey, listen, giving for the last 3 weeks has been really slow. It's summer, people on vacation. So we're having 2 words, spending freeze. You ever had a spending freeze in your church? That's motivating. Man, I love that. Spending freeze. Hey, kids ministry, do y'all really need to use all these goldfish crackers? Are y'all shopping for the best deal on goldfish crackers? Have you considered switching to Cheerios? We have run a report, and this could save us $13.77 if you will buy Cheerios in bulk from Costco. Can we import them? Right? Spending freeze. Youth ministry. I know it's the summer and the kids are all out of school and they have nothing to do, but we need you to operate. Can you make money during the summer? Is there a way that you can make money? Because we have a spending freeze. No one likes a spending freeze. But if you will teach people to make, if you will teach your church how to make automatic recurring contributions digitally, then you can level out that chart. You can level out that line. Summer slump becomes obsolete. Number 5, talk about benefits. It's convenient for people. People in your church want to give in a convenient way. I had to write a check the other day for something. My wife and I wanted to support a ministry that was doing something extra, and we give to our church, but we wanted to do something extra for this particular ministry. They sent me a letter in the mail, and I wanted to support this, but the only way I could do it was to send them a check. And so I went into my home office, into this drawer that's just filled with who knows. It's just the junk drawer. You have a junk drawer. Some of you have many junk drawers. Just junk drawer. I got the box out, the box of checks, and I flipped through it, all the little triplicate things, the little things, and I flipped through it and got to the back, and I was out of checks. I was out. And I had to figure out how to order checks. So I went on Google. How do you order checks, right? Apparently, there's still a lot of companies doing this for some reason. I ordered some checks. They have little dinosaurs on them, different styles. It took 2 weeks. And I was like, it took 2 weeks to get the check, write the check, mail it to them. And I was like a pretty motivated donor. Most people are going to give up. Most people are just going to give up. Now I have like 1,000 checks. They're going to last me until the Mayans come back or something, Like what am I going to do with all these checks? I can start a fire if I need to. That's what I would do. I don't write checks. I don't carry a check. I don't pay for things with a check. I want to pay for things with a credit card, with a debit card. I want to swipe and go. It's convenient for me. It's convenient for people in your church to do that. Do you know that 60% of people now pay their bills online? Did you know that the post office, that's a fun place, the post office lost $8.5 billion last year? Right? The stamp and paper people are losing $8.5 billion. 60% of bills are being paid online. Do you know when people want to give to your church? When they're paying their bills online. That's when they want to do it. That's when it's convenient for them. Number 6, you will reach new givers. Would you like to reach new givers in your church? Yeah. Did you know that when you introduce a new method to give, you will reach new people? I'm not just talking about shifting people from putting money in a plate to giving online. That is a loss of money because there's fees. But when you emphasize digital giving, you will pick up new givers. We did a study. We surveyed over 1,000 pastors. And we asked many questions, but one of the questions we asked was, has emphasizing digital giving in your church helped you reach brand new people who wouldn't have ordinarily given? And 61% of those pastors said, yes, absolutely. We have reached new givers, new donors. We have a friend that we work with in San Antonio, Texas. Texas, those are some weird people. There's probably some people watching from Texas right now. How you doing? Thanks for watching. You're pretty weird. Our friend Zach, he turned an iPad into a giving kiosk. And he says a couple times a year, he brings it up on the stage. Show and tell. Y'all remember that? Interestingly, show was always more fun than tell, wasn't it? Bring the thing up on the stage if you have a kiosk. Put it up there and say, this is a kiosk. And he shows people, he flips through with his hand, shows people how to do it, and then they take it back out in the lobby. He says every time we do that, there's like 20 or 30 people that go out and use it for the very first time. They just want to try it out. They're like, this is cool. He says they give the minimum because they want to try it out. I said, that's awesome. Increase the minimum. That's what I told him to do. Like, make the minimum $1,000. Be like, I want to see how this works. $1,000. All right, awesome. Isn't that awesome? Pick up 30 or 20 or 30 new givers, brand new people that you can follow up with, that you can thank, that you can appreciate, that you can teach them that they made a spiritual decision. You'll reach new givers. And then number 7, last one, most compelling, is overall giving will increase. Do you want giving to increase in your church? Yes, you do. That's why you showed up for this. Or you wanted lunch for free. But you want giving to increase in your church. If you want giving to increase in your church, emphasize digital giving. There's a correlation there. We surveyed 1,000 pastors. And here's what we asked them. Listen to this. This is amazing. We're going to release this whole report in April or May, late April, early May. And so we're going to send you this report. But I want to tell you one thing we found. We asked this question, 1,000 pastors. Are you behind budget? Are you meeting budget? Or are you ahead of budget? Do you understand? And there was a significant group of people who said we are behind budget. Our giving is behind budget. And so there's this slice of the pie that said we are behind budget. Of just that slice of the pie, just that percentage of the pie that said we are behind budget, we asked them, well, how much of your giving comes in digitally? And 75% of that slice of the pie who said we're behind budget said we receive less than 10% of our contributions digitally. Now, I could give you all kinds of numbers, and we're going to explain this, but let me tell you the bottom line. The bottom line is that there is a direct correlation between emphasizing online, digital, recurring giving and meeting and exceeding your budget. Another way to say that is this. If you will emphasize online giving, over time, your giving will increase. I'm just telling you it will. We've seen it over and over and over again. And you can push back on it. You can not like the rule. You can say, we're just going to try to do the other things, and that's fine. You can do that. But here's what I know. The system that you're using right now is getting you the results that you're getting right now. And so maybe, just maybe, it's worth getting that 14-year-old to World of Warcraft-ize your website. Maybe it's worth putting the team together. Maybe it's worth investigating a kiosk. Maybe it's worth the communication. Maybe it's worth the effort in order to increase giving. Now, let me tell you how to do it, because it's very simple. This is not complicated. This is not complicated. There are 5 things you need to do this. Number 1, you need to decide to do it. Right? I know you think that's pretty simple, but this is actually the most important step. You need to decide to do it. Sometimes leadership is just showing up. Sometimes implementing a plan is just deciding to implement the plan and then kind of figure some things out. And you decide to do it. Last fall, I decided to run in a marathon. But that was too far, so I said, I'm going to run in a half a marathon. Which is still pretty far. That's like 13 miles. I have ADDD, and so listen, I didn't think, my thought was like, I don't know if I can do 13 miles. My thought is, what am I going to do for 13 miles? That's a long time. I don't like to drive 13 miles. Are we there yet? And then, really, I'm not really a runner. It's like boring. It's just boring. But I said, I want to run in this half marathon. Do you know when I finished the half marathon? It was when I took out my credit card and went to AtlantaHalfMarathon.com and paid about $85 and signed up for it. That's really when I finished, is when I committed to do it. Incidentally, they didn't make me get a bag of cash and come down to the marathon store and sign up on a piece of paper. They took a credit card, right? And I signed up for it. And on Thanksgiving Day, early in the morning, I finished my first and probably only half marathon, very slow. Like a one-legged dude passed me on like mile 12. He just hopped on by. Hey, how you doing? But I finished it, and you know why I finished it? Because I decided to finish it. And some of you need to say, you know what? We are deciding to do this. Some of you during this break, during the lunch break that we're going to have in a few minutes, need to go call a couple people and say, listen, here's what we're doing. We are figuring out how to do this. We're making a decision. And let's go. Number 2 is you need to set a goal. You need to set a goal. This is pretty basic, right? You need to set a goal. The goal, all you need to know is 2 numbers to set a goal. Number one, that's funny. Number 1 is this. What percentage of your contributions are coming in digitally right now? Like, here's how much money we have, and then here's the percent that comes in digitally. On your website, people that do automatic bank drafts, that's digital giving. Kiosks, mobile, all the things. How much of that comes in digitally? What percentage? Is it 5%, 10%, 30%, 0%? Just know where it is. Don't lie. Don't inflate the number. It is what it is. What is the percentage? And then the second thing is what percentage do you want it to be? What percentage do you want it to be? Set a realistic goal. Where are we? Where do we want to go? Some of the healthiest churches financially that we work with have 50, 60, 70% of their income coming in digitally, which means if they have to cancel a church service, they are 50, 60, or 70% less worried than the rest of you. Set a goal. Number 3, create a brand. Create a brand. We can spend a lot of time talking about this, but this is very simple. You just need to create a brand. Let me show you a brand. Here's a brand. This is Faith Promise in Tennessee. faithpromise.org is their website. They have a brand. It's called Ways to Give at Faith Promise. Ways to give. And they say you can give 4 ways. You can give on the web. You can give in the boxes. This particular church, they don't pass a plate. They do boxes in the back. You can give on the kiosk, or you can just mail in your contribution. Here's the address. You say, well, that's not like a brand. That's like not like a McDonald's logo or a Nike swoosh. That's a brand. And so when they get up to talk about the giving and the giving talk, when they on their website, when they print stuff, this is what they say. They just say, hey guys, there's 4 ways to give. That's simple, isn't it? You could do this. Some of you can say, well, we're going to have 3 ways to give. Some of you are like overachievers. We're going to have 5 ways to give. We take cows. You can give with grain. Right? Just figure, like, you can come up with a different brand. You can make a logo. Listen, we work with churches. They come up with all different kinds of things. But they just kind of create a brand and package this around that. And so they just talk about the ways to give at church. And then several of them are digital. And they just talk about this. Create a brand. You can do this. We've actually created a brand for you. If you want to, you can use it. It's called Automate the Important. We created this for you. It's a brand. It's got graphics. It's got logos. It's got screen things. You can use it. Number 4. Invest in the right solutions. Invest in the right solutions. You need 3 solutions for digital giving. Number 1, you need to accept contributions on your website. You need website solution. Some of you have online giving, but it's terrible. 34% of the churches in our survey said you cannot give money to our church on our website. It's 2012. People are not faxing in donations to your church. They're not listening to these sermon cassette tapes that you hand out. You need to receive donations on your website. And listen, let me tell you something. This is a little extra. Listen, it needs to be simple and easy. Amazon's revenues went through the roof when they came out with one-click ordering. I bought 24 paper towels on Amazon because it was one-click ordering with free shipping. A giant box of paper towels showed. I didn't even need paper towels. I just thought I'm going to use them. I've been using those paper towels. It was like triple roll. They're like as big as a microwave oven. They've lasted for like 4 months because I bought them for one-click ordering because it was on my phone and I didn't have to type in anything. One click. So you can have the register, creator account, manage your preferences, put in your bank account number and your kids' names and what's the VIN on your car and all that stuff. You can do that if you want. But you need to have another button that says, click here to give fast, no registration required. Like take PayPal if you want. Just make it simple for people to give. Encourage them to fill out the thing, yes, but make it simple. At 2 a.m., if somebody wants to give $100 to your church, they do not want to fill out a 30-minute form. Invest in the right solution. You need web. The second thing you need is you need kiosk. You need a kiosk solution. Kiosk. Let me give you 2 companies to check out. There's a kiosk. It's a kiosk from our friend Dave Anderson in Alabama. Listen, he's in Alabama and he's got a giving kiosk. You can do it. They just got electricity not too long ago. Listen, when you go to that kiosk and type in your number, it goes. They're in Alabama. Listen, get a kiosk. Put it out there. Teach people how to use it. There's 2 companies. We have one of our event sponsors is a company called ServiceU, SERVICE, the letter U.com. They can help you with this. This church uses a kiosk from SecureGive. You should go out there and make a donation to this church. See, there's some people from this church here who are like, yeah, come on, that's a good idea. Seriously, I'm telling you, go out there and do it. Like, make a donation to this church, and it's from SecureGive, securegive.com. You need a kiosk. Figure it out. Talk to these people. And then number 3, you need mobile giving. You need mobile giving. Everyone that has a smartphone has a giving kiosk in their pocket. I go to North Point Community Church in Atlanta. I go to Buckhead Church. They have a great mobile site, mpmgive.org. They just made it up. Just made it. Get that kid to make it up for you. You can do this. It's not hard. There are people that can do this for your church. I really think we're not far away from in our giving talks going, hey guys, we're about to pass the buckets around. Here's the offering. But also right now, if you want to get out your smartphone and go to mpmgive.com, you can give right now while you're seated during this next song. This would be a great time for you to do that. Listen, that's normal. That's the new normal. That's the new rule. And then number 5, the last thing you need to do is you need to do a digital giving initiative. A digital giving initiative. Let me tell you what that is. It is a focused time of communication where you emphasize digital giving. It is not enough. Please hear me. If you don't hear anything else, hear this. It is not enough to offer digital giving. You must emphasize digital giving. And so here's how you do this. You take a whole month. Yes, a whole month. It's that important. Funding your church is important. It's worth a month. Right? Or you won't have any other months. Take a month. I suggest the month of May. And I suggest writing it down on your annual funding plan. You do it in May, right before the summer hits. And for 4 weeks, from your stage, from your emails, from the kid, listen, I'd have the student ministry do this, the kids ministry do this, everything in the church in the month of May. Talk about automate the important. We created this for you. Teach people, if it's important for you to give, make it automatic. If it's important to save for retirement, don't depend on somebody's just passion at the end of the month. Hey, I'd like to retire one day. I should start doing it. No, you make it automatic. I give to our church automatically because I will forget, but it's important and I want to do it. So teach people, automate the important. And so here's what we did for you in this deal. We wrote all the letters that you're going to mail. You just have to change a few things. We wrote all the emails that you're going to send. We created the print pieces. We created the handouts. We created all the graphics. We created all this, every communication piece. And you can plug it in and do it in May. But you know what you ought to do? You ought to do it every May. The next year, do it in May. The next year, do it in May. And intentionally move people from sporadic in-service giving to automatic online giving. That was like a Dr. Seuss quote right there, right? Listen, you want automatic givers, not sporadic givers. And if you'll emphasize this for a month, then you'll begin to see some fruit. So do a campaign. If you don't want to call automate the important, come up with something and do it on your own. But emphasize this every single year. And here's what I know. And then we're done. If you will make digital the default, you will have more money for ministry. I'm just telling you, we've seen it over and over and over again. You have to be committed. You have to take the time. You have to do your homework. You have to invest in the right solutions. You got to do it right. But if you will invest in digital, if you will make digital default, you'll have more money for ministry. And it's more money for ministry. Not more money for fun. It's for ministry. You want to do ministry, yes. And so make digital the default. So here's what I want to do. We're gonna in just a few minutes we're gonna finish our session and we're gonna do lunch. But before we do that, I want you guys to pay very, 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 very careful attention because Casey has worked with far more churches on digital giving than I have. And some of you guys have texted in some questions and tweeted in on the Twitter some questions. And so I want to ask Casey a couple questions while he and I are both here. This is what we were supposed to do in the last session. This is working a lot better. And so so I want to ask Casey a couple questions because I want you to hear this. And in the deal with